being cozy and working at home. This is like getting up and going to the bus. My mom has like debunked it already.
It has really developed through the sports that they're in.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of That Mom Vibe podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about homeschooling. We are both homeschool mamas. We have 9 kids between us. She's a little bit more seasoned than I am, but we have different perspectives and we've gotten some questions about it. So we're going to get into it and we're going to let you know all of the things from our perspective. My story is completely different than her story is of how we started homeschooling our kids. When did you start?
I started homeschooling about 6 years ago.
6 years ago, yeah. So Naya has never been into public school at all.
No, Naya.
But Gianni did for a little bit, right?
Gianni went up. She finished first grade and she was like a few weeks into her second grade year before I took her out.
Yeah.
Now she's in 7th grade.
So what made you take her out?
There were a few things. I think the biggest things were... the biggest issues were like the bullying in school. Gianni's more vocal now, but at that time she was like timid and she like wouldn't speak up for herself. So we had a couple really ugly incidences in school. I guess from my perspective as a mom, right? I teach my kids to be like respectful, you don't hit, you don't talk about people, but then they were going to school experiencing the very things that I taught them not to do to others. There was a time, I think she was in kindergarten, where there was, I guess he was like labeled as a problem child, but I think he might have like ADHD or something, but he was like a classroom terror and he was running around kicking kids, spitting on them, doing things like that. And she came home one day and was like, this little kid, was kicking me in my back today. And then I was like turned off by like, wait a minute, what? She's like, yeah. And I said, well, what did the teacher do? And she said, they kept telling him, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I said, was he taken out of the classroom? She was like, no. I was like, was he like moved away from you? She's like, no. So at that point I was like pretty angry. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't get a phone call. My daughter has to come.
That's the part that irks me.
Yeah.
Because that's where the problem lies, especially with me, is when, it's not just the kid, it's how the administration, the teachers, whatever, staff, they handle it.
That's right.
And it's funny because like you're talking, I remember when you told me the story and I was just like, well, Gianni has nothing to be for anyone to make fun of.
No.
Like she's beautiful. Like she's soft-spoken, quiet, like where she's not going to get herself into something.
Right.
Like she's not going to provoke something.
Right.
So obviously the issue lies with that child.
Yeah. And even in class, like all the teachers would always give her praise. Oh, she's so kind.
Right.
She's respectful. She does her work on time. She was really smart. So, once she comes home to tell me something like that, I'm already like, what just happened? So I went into the school the next day. My daughter was like, Mom, please don't. Please. And I didn't want to.
So embarrassed by it.
Right, I didn't want to embarrass her, but I was angry, right? So
you're like, enough is enough. Been there, done that.
The principal was a really nice lady, and she seen me in there. She's like, what's going on? So I'm like, listen. My daughter came home and told me that some kid was kicking her in the back. This is the same kid that was like pulling her hair a couple weeks ago. And I said, and I didn't receive a phone call. And now I'm livid.
That's the problem. That's the problem. That's where it lies is there's no communication.
Yeah.
There's no phone call. There's no email. And it keeps happening. They're just like swimming under the rug.
Why have to come tell me something like that and the school feel like they don't have to tell me?
Right.
So I was getting ready to walk right past the principal's office and I was getting ready to talk to her teacher and let her know, like, I don't know what's going on here. So she ended up actually bringing the teacher to me and I'm like, I'm disappointed at the fact that my,
first time I'm hearing about it. Right.
She has to come home and tell me that some kid is kicking her, pulling her hair, terrorizing her
on multiple
class.
occasions.
And she's telling me that he wasn't removed from the class, that he was asked multiple times to stop. And I said, listen, while I teach my kids to be respectful in school, so I don't bring them here so that someone else's kid can put their hands on my kid.
Yeah.
Now you're going to piss me off. You're going to make me angry. So she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, listen, what I need to know is that you're going to do something with this kid to where I don't have to hear my daughter
remedy it, so do something.
Especially, she's my kid and maybe I have a bias, but I know one thing. She's never been called out for hitting someone else's kid, spitting on them, making fun of them. She didn't do this.
It's a reoccurring thing. It's something this specific child was doing on a reoccurring basis.
It was
it wasn't being addressed. It wasn't being handled, or it wasn't being handled where it stopped appropriately,
So that was one of a couple situations. And then when we came out here to Nevada, she went to the elementary school up the street, and she loved it. Her first year, her teacher was great. Everyone was great. Then the second year, her second grade year, I mean, within weeks, like honestly, the first week, she had 3 different teachers within the first month because I don't know, they kept being moved for some reason. Mm-hmm. And the one she ended up with, right, schools, right, the one she ended up with, she was just like, every time I kept getting called 20 minutes after dropping her off, like, oh, her stomach hurts, please can get her stomach hurts. And at one point, I'm like, Gianni, what is going on? Right. Is something wrong? Is someone hitting you?
What did she say? Did she finally tell you like what was going on?
She did. So basically the new teacher was kind of like, a little bit militant, and she had this system where she would tell them like, if you, talk or you do this, you do that, you're going to get a violation. So the word violation, she didn't know what it meant. she
thought it was like,
she thought it was like something really physical, bad.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she thought it was physical, but I know she thought it was like bad.
I'll be honest with you, I like that system. I don't know about the word, but I'm just like, you talk, you clip down. They had like the clip down system.
Well, the year before,
violation is a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a clip down chart, like from green to orange to yellow to red,
Violation's a little weird. It was, but especially for second graders, she didn't know what it meant, and she just knew that the lady was nothing like the previous teacher. And I just felt like, at the time we had the means to take her out and homeschool her. And it was just kind of like the icing on the cake. And I was like, you know what? There's no need.
Too many signs back and forth. Yeah.
There's no need for you to go to school and be, have anxiety or be scared or be sad. Like you can be.
It's a huge distraction.
So that was the reason why I said, you know what, we're going to pull her out. And then I took her home, and within a couple of days, she was in the homeschool program she's been in.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's in 7th grade now, right?
She's in 7th grade.
And how is she like socially? And because that's like the misconception. Everyone's like, oh, homeschool kids, they don't get enough, interactions, and they're going to be loners and all that stuff. And obviously, we know that is completely not true. Our kids have blossomed. Right. But what about Gianni? Like, because I know you told me, but I want them to know.
Right.
I want them to know.
So Gianni was a different kid back then than she is today.
Yeah.
And I think that she has grown, she has developed in a positive way.
Right.
In that before she wouldn't, speak up for herself or, speak up at all. She was really quiet, shy. She was timid. You ask her questions and she kind of would like shy away from the question. You know her now. She's super talkative.
With people she knows,
Yeah. But I would say that the homeschooling program it was a huge factor in helping develop her sense of self. Her esteem just got better, right? She being home, the love language that we have is like, physical, constantly hugging her, affirmations of love, you're beautiful. So she didn't have to deal with the normal things that some kids deal with in school that we dealt with back then. Peer pressure, fighting, oh, you're ugly, when in actuality you're not ugly at all, just people don't like you, just the mean girls thing that happens in school. So I feel like in pulling her out, I was able to really reinforce who she was, right? Give her that, like, you're smart, you're beautiful, people don't like you, that's their problem, not your problem. And I think that that's helped her grow to now where she will speak up for herself.
You have more time.
Yes.
Time to like dedicated time to pour love into her and to connect with her and teach her things that are actually coming into this age are more important than ever. Like, it's hard because the public school system is not only public, charters, private, any type of school outside of the home. There's so many other things that go with it because of all the kids and the teachers and the interactions that they have with, the outside world, so many different influences. And for some kids, like, it's a lot of pressure. I know for some of my kids, it was the pressure, the anxiety, the stress, the, trying to fit in. It's a lot for especially like a preteen.
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly. And I think it's a part of what helps either build a very self-aware, strong teen with integrity, one that's not afraid to say, I'm not doing that because that's not right, versus jumping on the bandwagon and making fun of other kids or beating up other kids with other. I went through that. I grew up in the city. Yeah. My upbringing was totally different from my daughter's, and it was done purposely, right? I didn't want her to go.
We learned from the past.
That's right.
My middle school experience was a nightmare.
Same.
I literally got slapped by a kid.
No, ain't nobody slapping me.
I know. You were different. See, if we went to middle
slapping me.
Yeah, if we went to middle school together, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I wish Lila went to middle school with me because I would have had a different experience, okay? Because I wish, like, homeschooling was not a thing when I was in school.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't even know it existed, you know? So my life would have been so much different because I was very much that kid. Like I was very insecure. I was going to school like worried about what I looked like, what I dressed like if I was prettier than other girls. I wasn't like a star student. There was a lot of things going on, especially when you have this like popularity contest in middle school. It was a lot.
You bring up a good point, right? And like I have best friends that tell you right now, they're like, oh my God, Lila, she's the reason why I didn't get, beat up from my mouth or whatever. Fortunately for me, I was okay with who I was. I'd be lying if I said that some of the things that the girls said and didn't make me question, like, am I pretty?
Right.
Why do they hate me?
Yeah.
But there was a bigger part of me that didn't care much, right? Like I was in sports, I had different groups of friends.
I didn't have sports in my middle school. I don't know why. It was, I grew up in like the country. Okay. Like I had a smaller school, like it was a very small group of friends. There wasn't a lot of like opportunities to like go to different schools. There was no other school. There was the only one elementary school. It was just rough. And I think that like if I were able to, if my mom was able to homeschool me, I would have been such a happier kid. I would have been more confident. I would have been able to concentrate on school because like the purpose of school is to learn, right? And learning is like the back burner.
Absolutely.
For a kid like me or some other kids. You know what I mean?
I think for majority of kids.
Yeah, because they're just worried about, and also it's not even just like the school, it's the process of getting up and going to school. Like it may seem petty, but for me, it was just like, get up, my son. Like, get up. It was already a stressful day. Get up, brush your teeth, then do this, do that. And I felt like I was a drill sergeant, and for him, I just felt like he was stressed getting out of the door place. Plus, he's a sports guy too. So he'd come home and we'd have to like rush our homework to get to sports. It was just too much. Now that we homeschool, he's able to do his school and have downtime to mentally prepare, physically prepare, warm up outside before we go to practice. It's a much smoother, less stressful environment. Plus, he doesn't have all those punk boys that,
right.
He could be rolling with right now that I see riding around the neighborhood that while he's safe at home playing his video games, I'd rather him do that.
Right.
I'd rather
be involved in other things.
Yeah.
I will say that homeschooling, I believe, has developed a really strong bond between me and my daughters.
Me too, yeah.
Because you don't have to be so rigid. Like you said, the scheduling thing poses a huge problem. Like the girls were having to get up at, 5:45, 6 a.m. to be at school by 7:05, 7:10. When you can let them sleep in and wake up at a more decent time, they're happier.
Pressure.
Right. They're not upset. You're not fighting.
Eat whatever for breakfast. It's a much less pressured environment, and they don't feel like, for Elia, like, she's very quiet. So if she doesn't get something, and she's a slower learner, she needs to be taught in different ways and then multiple times. So for her, she was just getting trampled over. And she was too nervous and too shy to even say, like, I need help or I don't get it. So she was just being bypassed, and her grades were showing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's getting straight A's and a couple B's because she has all the time to learn at her own pace.
Mm-hmm.
She's much less stressed.
And you don't have to, like you said, worry about do I look good today? Do I have the right sneakers on for these?
They're in their snuggie at the, I'm like, go brush your teeth. And at least do that.
I'll be honest, in the very beginning with the homeschooling, I had like we'll sit at the office. They had their little
Me too. First week.
But now, I let my oldest, who's a little bit more moody, I let her sit on her beanbag in her room with her laptop because she's a straight A student. Why not? As long as you can handle your responsibilities, I'll give you your responsibility, right? So if you can lay on your beanbag or in your bed all day and get straight A's, I don't care, because for me, it's, are you getting the work done, right? Are you responsible enough to get it done? It leaves a lot of time for other things. They can focus more on how to cook, how to clean up themselves.
Things to do together.
That's right. Spending more time, we watch movies and shows, and we read books together.
Life skills, things around the house, helping me with the baby. There's many perks that come with it.
Even teaching your kids how to get involved in your family business on a small level and then increasing it annually is, I think it's nice. It teaches
Yeah.
them what real life is about. I feel like, public school is maybe 70% waste of time. You're between just walking from class to class.
Even the class in general. It's like, what? What did you learn today? We learned about the.
Half of them don't even know. You go ask them, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a distraction. But
I was
for sure they know what color some certain girl was wearing that day.
Right.
I know Ace does.
Right.
What the deal breaker for me when I pulled my kids out like abruptly, luckily some of these issues happened like a few weeks before school got out, so I let them ride it till the end. But we had a lot of issues. So we are a multicultural family. I have adopted Black children, and they get a certain amount of discrimination on their own, and I've seen it. But the fact that they were adopted, they were getting more discrimination from a certain teacher. We got like little things from kids here and there, and we smashed it. Their kids will be kids. Faculty, administration handled it appropriately, even though I was irritated. That didn't even happen in the first place. But when we get to middle school and you've got an ignorant teacher, having my big, tough football player son that never cries, about to burst in tears in front of his class because she's saying, oh, I hope you meet your real parents. Oh, your dad's Filipino. Don't you know you're Black, Ace? Like, downgrading him like that and then making fun of him because he's adopted for the whole class at his expense. The whole class is listening. I'm just like, what? And then it happened again with Avea in a different period. Same scenario, same class, different classes, same assignment. It happened again. And then on top of that, our own experiences, but I won't get into like great detail because there's many different experiences, but that is enough, right? Okay, that's enough.
That's a big one.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like little things that happens. Like in this particular middle school, there was vaping in the locker rooms, there was fights, there was things that I just didn't want my kids exposed to. And I don't want to like completely shelter them because yes, these are real world things, but why? If I have the choice to not have them be exposed to it, like why not? And I think there's people that make comments like, oh, it's real world, you're sheltering them too much. And I'm like, this is an everyday thing. Like, this is not just like once a scenario that we can talk about and be like, this is the real world. It happens. It happens all the time. And I don't want my kids exposed to it. Well, I mean, why? If your kids are going to be exposed to something over and over and over, 9 times out of 10, they're going to experience it.
Exactly.
So it's like, why?
So, and if you have the opportunity to bring them home, build them up a little bit more before they're exposed to it at a certain time, a lot of those pressures will dissipate by the time you graduate. I know the minute I left high school, all the like peer pressure, but
yes, me too. I'm the most confident. I am the most confident person now. If I were then like how I am now in middle school, girl, I'd be rocking that school.
All those things stay behind.
Through this awkward.
That's how I feel when you can say, and I have it by example. Little Joey, he's done with school, right?
Right.
He homeschooled 3 out of the 4 years of high school.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's flourishing. He's out there working. He is confident.
Yeah.
He was well raised. He's respectful, right? And he doesn't have to worry about the pressures anymore of, am I cool enough for high school? Am I cool enough to be this guy?
And for me, it's middle school. It was for me, it's middle school. And possibly high school because we haven't decided yet. But for me, it's middle school. Like elementary school, I think I'm fine. Like my girls are doing fine. They have this like
whatever. For you, it's middle school that you will homeschool them.
I wanted to pull them out from middle school. When I pulled them out, my goal was you're coming out from middle school. I don't like this era. Mm-hmm. I don't like this school particularly. I don't like the attitudes and like all this testing things. I think some kids kind of find their own a little bit and they're a little bit more confident. They're a little bit kinder in high school. Not always. Not always. But in my experience, like people were a little bit more aware of people's feelings a little bit more. They're a little bit more mature. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We haven't decided yet, but I know middle school is like a shit show for me. And I was just like, I'm not having it. Now that we've homeschooled for a little bit, I have different feelings. I don't think that every single one of my kids is going to be in homeschool. Mm-hmm. I think that one particular child will thrive her entire schooling, maybe not college, homeschooling. I think it's great for her. For my other few, I don't think it is quite. And there's different reasons for that. Like, for example, Ace, he doesn't have a brother. I think if his twin was a boy, it would be different. He would have that brother at home to kind of do that, to do things with, like after they finish their lessons. But he's getting a little stir crazy with 4 sisters, and he's very much a sports boy, and he wants to go to high school sports. So I think that we'll be transitioning him into hopefully a charter school. For Avea, Ace's twin, it could kind of go either way. Like, she struggles a little bit because she loves being home, she loves being in her snuggie all day, and she loves being with me and, you know, being cozy and working at home, and she gets good grades, but she also misses like getting up and going to the bus, because she was very much that child where, you know, she was up and ready to go, and she had breakfast and her bag was packed, her lunch was packed, her teeth were brushed, and she was trying to get Ace out of bed. She actually likes getting up in that routine. She likes the structure. So for her, it could go either way. I'm just gonna see how it goes with her. But for my Elia, she is just homeschooler. Like, I can just tell she is thriving. She loves it. She is a slower learner and she's very shy. So she has a hard time asking for help. So I feel like homeschooling was the best thing for her, because I started homeschooling her beginning of 6th grade. So she never went to that middle school. I was just like, she is not going, because she's gorgeous and I feel like she's very passive, and I was scared she was going to get like manipulated and like, I just know. And she's not like the upfront child where it's like, Mom, guess what happened today? Avea's like that. She's not. I'll hear about that. Yeah, she's like, Mom, guess what? I'm like, I don't know. What happened now? I love it, but I'm just like, girl, I don't know. She's like, so-and-so is vaping, and I'm like, oh gosh, get this child again. All the tea. She does, and she tells everyone. She tells you. She tells Lexi's mom. Lexi's mom's like, you know, I can always count on Beta to tell me what's going on with Lexi. I'm like, she is a little snitchy. And so, you know, I'm like, come on now. But Elia, I think she's going to be a homeschooler, you know? And she loves being home and she loves helping with the baby. And that's a little bit of a perk too. Plus, I like the fact that we can get up and do something. You know, we can bake, or we can go to the store. We can do these things, and I can take my girls with me. Sometimes Ace, but he kind of prefers to stay home sometimes.
Honey is absolutely thriving in a homeschool. She is a straight A student. I think it took her a little while she hates school. She's just naturally good at it.
Oh, yeah. She's
interested in. I didn't hate school. I didn't hate school. I love school, but she does not like school. But she loves other things, like constructing things, inventing things, crocheting.
She's an artsy child.
She's very artsy. Yeah. So we got to the point where she understands like school first, and then, you know, knock yourself out with creativity the entire day. Mm-hmm. But she does really well at it. I don't have to wake her up. I don't have to tell her to get back to school. She's literally up on her studies, done, and on to her crafting. So I don't believe that there's going to come a time that she wants to get out of home.
She's never expressed that she wants to.
And I asked them like every year, I'm like, do you guys want to go to regular school? And they laugh like, no.
And they're like, no. They're very comfy at home when
they are. Yeah. Naya's also thriving. She's in 3rd grade. They are very strong readers, so that helps when it comes to the schooling.
They can be a little bit more independent.
Right. Well, Gianni's fully independent, but now Naya, this is our last year, so I'm really putting a lot of the workload on her so that she can understand next year, Mommy won't sit here with you. You know, I'll be here, but I won't sit here with you through every class like I'm doing right now. So now she has about 3 classes that she does on her own, like Bible, math, science. She likes to go on her own. The ones that I have to sit with her, language arts and history usually, because it's a lot of information that she gets.
I feel like a lot of kids struggle with language arts for some reason.
I think it's just boring. Let's get real, it's boring.
My kids do better in math than they do in language arts.
Yeah, my kids are great.
I did not do good in math, but
they're both great at math. That comes from Mommy. But so I ask her all the time. She's never been in public school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Naya, do you think you want to go back? Yeah. It's like, no. Mom,
see,
no.
You got, I don't want to say you got lucky, but you just happen to have 2 daughters that thrive well in a homeschool environment. Yeah, so it's very much like a case-by-case scenario.
It is. It depends.
Yeah, because I have 5 kids in school right now, and, you know, I think 2 of them are good, and the rest of them, I think, are meant to be out and about in school, you know, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But, you know, I want each one of my kids to have that individual plan for them so they can be confident and happy and, you know, thriving in a learning environment. So it's a case by case scenario. And then a lot of people are like, oh, they don't get enough socialization. Like, that is so not true. And I think every homeschool mom has like debunked it already.
Right.
Like our kids thrive. Like they have friends in the neighborhood. They're in sports. Sports is a huge thing. And if your kid doesn't like sports, there's Girl Scouts, there's reading clubs, there's whatever, like it is what it is. If your child is homeschooled and they're not getting the social, it's probably because they're not a social kid in general. Or then they're probably not getting enough at regular school anyways.
Or the truth is also it's important for the parent to develop the social life in the child. Gianni and I's social life has really developed through the sports that they're in, the extracurricular, right? So now they have friends. You make sure you have play dates.
Yeah,
we made up all the time.
We hang out
all the time.
When we hang out, our girls are together right now.
Right. And here's the thing. My nephew came out from New York for
last week.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. And he made mention to me about something that blew my mind. I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. He was saying that for being a homeschool child, he has great communication with adults. And I feel that my daughters are the same way. I know, like when I was in elementary, I didn't want to talk to adults. They would ask me things. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if you hear this all the time, but if you ask a kid something, 9 times out of 10 is, I don't know. But homeschool kids is like, they love to talk to adults, kids, babies, they don't care. So I see socially that they excel when they're homeschool kids. My kids have no issues holding mature conversations with anyone. And you can see Gianni can stay with you. Yeah. Ace is like, we have great conversations. Yeah. He asks me all kinds of questions about the Bible, and he's very mature and very well-spoken. And my daughter's the same way. So I'm not sure where that came from. I think if you believe that the children are just sitting at home in a little 4x4 cell with a computer.
Because we talk to our kids. When they go to school, we don't talk to them all day. They're just doing whatever, and then they come home and then we're hustling. We're doing homework, doing this, we're doing that. We're not sitting talking to our kids. I talk to my kids all day long.
All day.
If it's just like, fold your laundry. Let's do it now. Let's do this. Okay, let's do that. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Like we're having these conversations, and they're able to come to me with anything more often because we have the time. Right. I simply have the time and during the day to dedicate with them. But the other thing is like, religion. You can't control religion at school. Whatever religion you have or you do not have, you can't control it. No. Like regardless. But at home, I know that you have some too, but in our homeschool curriculum, I picked Bible studies. They're starting because they're fresh with homeschooling. They're starting with the basics. They're starting with the starters, but Ace is actually getting into the New Testament and the Old Testament now. Mm-hmm. This is what we prefer as a family, but there are other options, and I was able to pick them. And the reason why I picked my particular one, Mia Academy, is because I could pick. And I could pick and choose. If there's certain things that I didn't agree with or didn't believe in, or I didn't want him learning, I can uncheck it and he doesn't have to. It's fully customizable. Christian, I don't think there's like Catholic though, but it's basically Christian and, what do you call it? Judaism?
Judaism.
Christian and Judaism.
The thing is, Catholicism falls under Christianity. I rather really fall under Christianity, but that's right. In public school, they give you what they want you to learn. Right. With homeschooling, I chose a Christian program. So it's not a secondary learning, it's a primary learning.
It's faith-based.
Right. Every day they have to learn about the Bible. And the funny thing is that I felt, like this was a good accountability measure for me because
me too.
They're learning about it. So I had to learn with them, and I had to, not learn with them because obviously I was born in Christianity and I stayed in it my whole life, but it makes you accountable to knowing the scripture to be able to help, unpack it, unfold it for the kids. And that's one of their favorite classes. That's their favorite class.
My kids are enjoying it. I had to, and this is funny because I recently changed it because I had it locked because it was like listed under an elective. Mm-hmm. So all the electives are locked until they finish all their core classes. Right. But I recently unlocked Bible only because a couple of my kids prefer to do Bible first thing in the morning.
Amen.
Yeah. And so I'm okay with that. And I feel like it's like something they enjoy. So why not? And it's a smaller class. Mm-hmm. So why not let them do that 20, 30 minutes of Bible first to start their day? Like everyone has their thing. I sit with my notepad, I have my coffee, and I write things down my to-do list. Like some people meditate, some people stretch, some people do yoga. Like if that's what motivates them and gets them going and kind of like gets them in a good headspace, let them do that, some people believe and some people don't believe,
Right.
and that's fine. But homeschooling gives us the option, and not only with faith-based things, but also like sexual education or astronomy, or some people don't believe in space. Like there's just so many different
There's
things
so many
that
things.
you can pick and choose
Right.
what your child learns, and you don't have to waste time on those things that you
matter to me.
completely opt out of some things, not core classes, but you could opt out of some things that you don't want your kid to learn that you can't in regular school. And that's powerful.
It is.
I really do. Like we're literally able to like give our kids what we want them to have and nothing else. Like none of the riffraff. Like
Well,
focus is crucial.
my kids' curriculum isn't customizable, but being that I am the teacher,
Yeah.
we'll go through certain things and I'll say, this is not a belief that we hold as Christians,
Right.
but this philosopher believes X, Y, Z.
But you also picked a program that you really did a lot of research in, and then you agreed with a lot of it. Not all programs are like
Right.
that,
Right. And there's still some things in the program. There are still some books and stuff that they choose that I have to say, hey, this book has to come off of the list. My daughter just can't read that.
Yeah.
Because it goes against what we believe, and it's still a Christian school. So you'll find good things and bad things about the program, but to be able to, for the most part, have something that you're happy with was important for me.
Yeah. And then also, like a couple of my kids, I felt like there was a gap in some of the things that they learned in the previous years. I was able to go in and reassign some things. Like Leah, for some reason, she struggles with like decimals and things like that. But that's a fourth grade thing. So I went in, and even though she's in sixth grade, I went into fourth and fifth grade, and I checked a couple of things that I wanted her to relearn. And now she's acing those things. But I was able to go back, fill in certain gaps, in addition to her sixth grade curriculum, which was crazy, because like how
awesome.
freaking easy is that for me to do? Because like I don't have the time or the capacity, and I'm not a teacher by heart. Like I'm not a teacher.
I am.
Like I'm a creator. I create content. I can go shopping. I can do all that, but I'm not a teacher by heart. So for me to be able to go back and reassign her those things that help her, fill in those gaps so that she didn't miss out moving forward was like crazy. That was really good for me.
I think it's funny for me to hear, how it's
I don't even think
the same, but so different.
Yeah, because we have different programs.
Yeah, because for me, I don't have to reassign to something. If they miss something in math, we're going back and doing a crash course with mommy. I'm like, all right, decimals, this is what it is.
Yeah, me, I'm reassigning.
And then I'm like,
we can talk about it. We can take notes. Let me see your notes. Go do it again. But that's okay. That's cool. I'm different.
I love it.
I am very hands off with homeschooling. Like you got to do it. You're a student first. You're a student athlete. You can't participate in games. You can't participate in those athletic things unless, you pass your classes.
Right.
And I'm not asking for like straight A's. Like, I'll let a C slip here and there. It's fine. We're learning. This is new for us. But, you're going to get it up.
Right. Too much pressure anyway.
But that's the only pressure I put.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time. Have as much time as you want. Ask questions. Take notes. Take the test again. But you got to get it right.
Right.
So however long it takes,
we have all the time in the world.
Yeah. We have all the time in the world. No pressure.
No pressure to learn this.
So yeah, it's like to each their own with homeschooling. Every child is different. Every situation is different. Some people wish they could and they can't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It is what it is. But
the question,
how do they find
the programs?
Yeah, there's so many programs out there. My thing, you probably have a different recommendation, but I'm very much big on like Facebook groups. Like for everything, I find a Facebook group. Mm-hmm. So there's homeschooling Facebook groups, like faith-based ones, or like in different states and different areas. And I poke around, I read everything, and then I look into my own research, and that's how I found Mia Academy. I actually was going to do Time for Learning, but the reason why I stuck with Mia Academy is because you had a little bit more control over the religion aspect. Mm-hmm. But other than that, they were pretty much the same.
So we kind of look for the same reasons. It was important for me for them to have Christianity as the core,
right.
value.
So you picked more of a Christian.
I definitely picked a fully Christian curriculum. It's even involved in their science and everything. They'll talk about it.
Really?
The Bible in every single class, which I love because it's important for them, for me,
I like that.
for them to have that foundation. But then also, I needed an accredited program. There's some people you don't have to have accredited. Like you can go in and find programs where you set it up how you want, but then when they're done, they have to go take their GED.
Ours is accredited also.
Right.
Yeah.
So, or you just get the diploma through the school. I think it's important to find out if you can have homeschool communities in your area, right? Like,
Right.
my girls' school is across the country, right? So they're not likely to make
Right.
LUOA friends right here in Nevada. There might be here, but to find them,
They're
they don't link it for
yeah.
you.
There's
So you have to find it
small
in your state.
community.
Yeah, they don't link it for you. You have to find it in your state. And the cost, right? It can be costly to do homeschooling, but it doesn't have to be.
It does,
There's
yeah.
some that you do, and it's a couple $100 a year versus a couple $100 a month per child. So it's really based on like your
Yeah.
budget, your need, their value systems, and what you're willing to gain or give up to do.
Right.
the
Yeah,
program.
ours is pretty affordable. And the reason why I wanted that is because I do have 5 kids. And I knew there was a possibility that all 5 kids could be homeschooled one day. So they have like lifetime memberships and they have monthly I think monthly it's like $30 a month per kid. And then I ended up paying like with like a special, like a Black Friday special or something, like around $350 per school year per kid. And I decided not to go the lifetime route because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I felt if each of them went 2 years, it would pay for a lifetime. So I took the gamble.
Right.
And I'm kind of glad because I think I'm going to save money because I think a few of them are going to go back.
I think my program is kind of costly. It's a few $100 per kid per month.
But you have a very niched program. Like it's very specific.
It's a great curriculum too.
Yeah.
It's like a really good curriculum. But I think also thinking for the future, now the school offers 50% off your college tuition.
Yeah, see,
It's also
mine doesn't
universal.
do that. Yours does. And that's probably
It's a
why.
huge savings. I know they both want to go to college. They don't want to not go. Like, some kids will tell you, I'm not going to college. They both say they're going to college. So now they have the opportunity to go after 50% of the cost.
Yeah, each their own. Like, the moral of the story is, homeschooling is different for every single family. It's not the right way and it's not the wrong way. It just really depends on the child, the circumstances, sometimes the location,
Yeah. Do your research. Is it good for your family or not? We like
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like to answer to anyone, so homeschooling was fun for us.
Yeah. It was a good talk about homeschooling. I hope you guys got some information. And, if you have any questions for us, ask in the comments or hit us up on our email, whatever. And we'll try to do our best to answer any questions. We're not experts. We're just moms, homeschooling moms.
That's right.
Yeah. See you in the next one, guys.
See ya.